So first of all, my name is Dr. Sherman, and I am Dean of Students at Post University. I'm Dean of Students for main campus and ADP. That's a large population, and I have a limited staff, but we're trying to do everything we can to ensure that you all having a positive experience here at Post University. I have been Dean of Students for about a year and a half. Previous to that, I was Dean for the School of Continuing Education here at Post. In my time of working with career development since 1999, I have been working with portfolios. I worked at an institution that created a portfolio process, and I was integral in the middle of all of that. And then we instituted for our students, and it was a requirement for students to turn it in their sophomore, junior, senior year, and for it to be graded in part of a grade in one of their classes. So I'll get into a little bit more about that, but it's something I'm really passionate about. I am going to share my screen and try to go find my PowerPoint here and pull it up and make sure that you can all see this. It's taking a second here. Are we good?
Good here.
We're good? Okay. Are you seeing all little screens or just one big one?
One big one right now.
Okay, perfect. Then it's exactly where it needs to be. So yes, as David said, this is a 3-part session. This is the first one tonight. We've reserved an hour. I'm hoping to make it a little quicker. I do realize it's getting late. This one will be talking about just kind of introduction to what is a career portfolio, called a professional portfolio. You could call it all kinds of terms. This is the first one just about what it is and how to create it. And I'll go into a little bit more about the other ones. So let me just keep moving here. Okay, so tonight I just want to talk about, certainly do a welcome in just a minute, what the series looks like, and then how to start to put together a portfolio, and why do you want to do this, and how would you use it, and so forth. So a portfolio is a really valuable tool in the interview process, and not many people know about it. But my experience of working with thousands of students with portfolios is that this really helps students stand out in the interview process. I've had hundreds of students come back and say, I tried it, I didn't think it was going to work. Oh my gosh, they loved my portfolio. It brought home the point of what I was talking about, and so forth. So here's just all the topics. I'm not going to read this to you, but this is what we'll be talking about in the next little while here. So just a little bit of introduction of what I've done with portfolios in the last 25 years. I've been lucky enough to have presented all around the country, probably doing more than 20 presentations at national conferences about portfolios. My dissertation included career development, and that was what it was about. So this is a field I'm really interested in. I'm also serving as past president of the Connecticut Career Counseling and Development Association. And my fun fact, I'm a huge Red Sox and Celtics fan. So when we're done here, I'm headed to the TV to catch the Celtics game tonight. I love sports. Okay, so our series, the 3-part, will start tonight. Next week is personalizing your portfolio. I usually bring in some guest speakers to bring their portfolio in and talk to you about it. Dr. Mike Walter, who is the Assistant Dean in the School of Business, will be here with his portfolio. I just confirmed that with him today. And typically, Caitlin Grant, who's director of the honors program, will come in and she will do hers as well. And then I have one as well that we'll share. So what we'll do is talk about tonight what it is, and the next week we'll show our portfolios, tell you how we've used them, the value that they've added for us. The third week, and 2 weeks from now, will be about how to use your portfolio in an interview. So now that you have this, how do you go about using it? There's some do's and there's some don'ts. And I think I've just put those together based on my experience of working with hundreds of students who've used their portfolio. I'm asking recruiters what they saw when the portfolio was used. So I have some information that I would be glad to share with you about that and how to actually go ahead and use it. So you are all working on building your career right now. You're students at Post. You're working on a degree or you're working on a certificate. You're trying to build your career. You can be building your career till your retirement age. We probably never stop this, but there are those moments in our lives where we probably spend a lot more time and a much greater focus on it. And this may be that time for you. So what are you doing to build your career? And if we take a look at the next slide, there are these different things that you're working on, right? Your work experience, the education, what you're working on right now in coursework, skill development. This certainly ties into what Dean Dressel was just sharing with you as well. your interest, your talent, your abilities. You're enhancing all of these, and not only just enhancing them, but also there's a lot of self-reflection that goes into portfolio building, much like the skill set that we were just talking about with the general education program. What skills do you have? How do you know if you're good at them? What can you strengthen? What are the skills that really are outstanding for you? How do you take those and put them into a portfolio and kind of put it on paper and show someone that you're really strong in something? So we'll talk about all of that. So, beside your interests, your talent, and your abilities, volunteer work is really important. And I think that's where you can pick up and learn a lot of those soft skills. Go out and volunteer. Be empathetic to the people that you're working with. Work in a soup kitchen or a homeless shelter, whatever that may be. It'll teach you listening skills, which are really important in soft skills, empathy, um, how to speak with people. Just lots of skills can come out of that. Your hobbies matter because hobbies where your passion is. However you spend your free time is really where your calling or your passion. And so those play into your career. And they should. And as you're talking to recruiters, what it does is it adds depth to who you are. Because as we just talked about, they want to hire the right person and they want to understand you. They may have five people in front of you, in front of them, who all have the same skills. So how do we go about showing them that you're different? And some of that is your depth of your personality, your experience, who you are, how you spend your free time, to be able to talk about all of that with a potential recruiter. So there are tools in the job. Certainly the resume or the CV. CV stands for curriculum vitae, and that is a more extensive resume. Usually you'll see college professors do that because they put in the courses they're teaching, the research they've done, their publication, and it can run on for 10 or 12 pages. A resume is typically 1 to 2 pages, just a summary of your work. Cover letter is really important. Some jobs will ask for a cover letter, some won't, but there's some do's and don'ts about cover letter writing. If you want more information, I really would recommend that you go to CCPD, our Center for Career and Professional Development. And Michael and Christina there would be glad to work with you on your resume and on your cover letter. And then the third one that a lot of people don't even know about, never mind use, is a portfolio. And what does that look like? And we're going to dive into that in just a minute. So here's a portfolio. This is the cover of my portfolio. What is it? It's a collection of artifacts that demonstrate your skills, your learning, your talents, your skills. All of this comes together in one binder. There's a way to organize it, which we'll get into. But typically a 3-ring binder works really well because you can add and delete. This is a living document. So if you go to one kind of a job, that has certain skills, you can put things in your portfolio that relate to that position. The week after you have a different interview, you can take those things out, you can add other things. You can keep adding as you go. You can subtract. So that 3-ring binder allows you that opportunity to make this a living document. You also want to put all of your work into plastic sheet protectors, which I'll talk about in a little while. Again, this is showing your skills. You also want to set your portfolio up for your intended career path. You could probably put 100 different things in your portfolio, but what you want to do is put the ones that best describe who you are and your skill set. And we'll talk more about that. Why do you need a portfolio? Well, you certainly can use it in an interview because it's not only just going to show them what you can do, but you can now explain to them, here's what this represents, and then here's what I have done about it. Here's where my skills go with this. So it's all about using it in an interview, and I think it's real important to do so. You also can use it for promotion. Maybe you need to go meet with somebody about being promoted. Bring it with you. Show them the things that you've accomplished. Performance appraisals. If you all have to sit down once a year or every 6 months with a supervisor, bring your portfolio. Show them what you've accomplished in that time frame. It'll speak loud and clear rather than just sitting there saying, here are the 6 things I did this year. Let me show you. I put them together. I put them organized. It shows your ability for forethought. It shows your ability to be organized and so forth. Or if you want to change careers, it's a wonderful way to demonstrate those transferable skills. So maybe you've always been in accounting and you want to move to the marketing field. How have you used those transferable skills to this new field, and how can you demonstrate them in your portfolio? So I don't know if you all remember show and tell, but maybe I'm aging myself when I say this, but when I was like kindergarten, first grade, every Friday we had show and tell. We all got to bring in something from our family or something. We bought our pet or a picture of our pet or whatever it was. We got to bring in something and just share with our class. And everyone stood up and we all had about 20 seconds to tell our class about whatever we brought. So show and tell is a pretty, a substantial way to have everybody speak and to everybody show something. It flips a little bit with a portfolio. With a portfolio, you're going to tell, which means if you're in an interview, you're going to answer the question fully, and then you're going to be able to show what you've brought with you. What are those skills that you can show and you can demonstrate and show the articles that you have done? So you're flipping it a little bit. Instead of show and tell, we're going to tell and then we're going to show. And in 2 weeks, when we talk about how to use the portfolio interview, we'll go into this a whole lot deeper about what makes sense, and how to use it and the things to do and not do. And there's some role play we'll get into it in that time as well too. So think about that. We're always going to answer the question. We're not going to be rude. Answer the question, look the interviewer in the eye, but then we can show what we've brought with us. There are two different types of portfolios, kind of general like categories in one's a paper portfolio, 3-ring notebook, like I just explained. And then there are digital portfolios. Both are good. Both serve different purposes. When I was presenting probably about 15 years ago about paper portfolios at a national conference, someone put her hand up, and I'll never forget this, and asked a question. And she said, "Why are you teaching people to use paper portfolios when we're in a digital world? There are digital platforms out there now that universities can purchase, and all students can build an electronic portfolio." And I said, "That's great, but not every university is able to do that." And so I think a paper portfolio is more valuable because you can use it in an interview. A digital portfolio will rarely, rarely ever be used in an interview, but a paper one you can bring and seamlessly use in an interview and have control over it the whole time. So I put together some of these pros and cons, if you will, about paper versus digital. Paper, it's the real artifact. You're bringing the actual piece of evidence that you have done, that you have collected. You're able to sit right here, explain it to them as you go. And you can make it seamless in an interview. And I think this is what I think is the more valuable. However, you're limited. You're limited to how much you can put in there. You're limited to how much you want to carry. You may put stuff in there that they don't really want to look at. Digital has its benefits. Somebody can look at it 24/7. It may have unlimited capacity. There's all kinds of benefits. The challenges may be they might not look at it. If you send a recruiter a link and said, "Oh, here's my portfolio," they might find time to look at it. They might not. And when they're looking at it, they don't have the benefit of you sitting right there explaining it all to them. And when I've asked recruiters in the past, would you pull up a digital portfolio at an interview and use it and have a student show you everything? Most of them have said, "I don't have time. I'd rather get to know them than get to know their portfolio." So there are pros and cons. And I do hope that as we're going through our Workforce Ready initiative, that we will be purchasing a digital platform. I'm hoping next summer. Maybe it's a year and a half from now. And we will be allowing students to go on and to do a digital portfolio because it still has value. At any time, you can go and create a paper one, which is going to be the focus of this series. But I do think that we want to get to having a digital portfolio because it's huge value in creating portfolios. And a digital one will allow all of our students to have access to that and training of how to do it. So benefits in both of them, and it's where your comfort level is and how you want to go about this. Because again, you don't have to have a portfolio. This is on you if you want to, what goes in it, how you want to use it. No one's forcing you to do any of it. This is just where you're comfortable. So why do we want to create a portfolio? It is a really important tool in a job search. Again, I've talked a lot about this, about your skills, the original work. It's a location also just to collect your artifacts until you actually want to go and use it. And as I've talked about the reasons why we want to do it. And some of the other reasons too, it puts a positive professional spin on what you're saying. It's a collection of all these things, as you can see in the graphic, your skills, your strategy, your vision, your goals, your growth over time. All of this comes together in your portfolio, and it helps that employer visualize who you are and the things that you have talked about. I will also say it will set you apart from other candidates. Very few people use a portfolio in an interview. And in the hundreds of people that I have interviewed in my career, I would say I think there were two that used a portfolio. So it's pretty rare, but I will also tell you it's very impressive when someone uses it and they use it correctly. So it will set you apart if you bring it. Now, you might bring it to interview and never use it. That's okay. And we'll talk about that in a minute too. Okay. So when you're setting up your portfolio, I want you to think about a theme because if you just throw a bunch of things in a notebook, it could be very messy. It could be look very disorganized. So I want you to think about what would your portfolio theme look like? Okay. Um, Skills. Do you just want it to be about your skills? And you do soft skills all the way through it. And you have communication for a tab, and you have public speaking, and you have empathy, and you have all of those things that are soft skills. Or you might want to do skills around, I'm an accountant and I want to put in all the different skills and the technological platforms that I know how to use and so forth. And those are all skill based. Perfect. You can do functional areas. You might say, okay, I'm a project manager. I want to put in the 4 or 5 different sections in my portfolio are all about project management. Things I've learned at certain jobs or technology that I use or spreadsheets that I've put together, outcomes that have come out of my ability to project lead, whatever that may be. You may decide to do it on your jobs. You may think that you want to kind of almost make your resume come alive. And you might want to say, okay, my current job, I'm going to put a couple things in that. And then my previous job, I'll put a couple things there. And then you can show your progression of how you've held jobs. And it's based on your resume, essentially. And you could do it that way. You could do it based on the occupation. Maybe you're a criminal justice major. What have you learned in criminal justice? Or what are those 4 or 5 or 6 areas in criminal justice that you want to talk about and put in your portfolio? Maybe you've done an internship. Maybe you've done some really cool projects. Maybe you've visited some police departments and spent some time with them, or you've talked to somebody at the FBI. Whatever it is, what have you learned all around that occupation? Okay. You also can do a very eclectic one. You just want to put a little bit of everything. Here are the 12 best things that I have done in my career. And then maybe they don't even match, but they're there and they're eclectic. It just comes together as a variety of things. So think about how you want to set up your portfolio, and this is completely up to you. What what process do you want to take yourself through and kind of fill in the gaps here? Okay. So creating that theme is really important. And then from that, what are the categories? Okay, so my theme is going to be, as I said, criminal justice. Everything that I've learned in criminal justice, this is where I want to go. And then what categories do I want to have? Do I want to have like coursework? Do I want to have internship? Do I want to have work experience? What are the categories within that theme? Okay, this is really important so that it looks like you are organized when you get there. And I'm going to show you the next slide and talk a little bit about an example here. So choose a theme based on the job or occupation that you want. Where do you want to go? What's next for you? And that's what I would get this portfolio lined up for. Okay, maybe it's not where you are now, but where do you want to go? And if you start to have jobs, what would they look like? So let me show you an example of a portfolio. And this was a senior. I was working at Nichols College when I was working on this portfolio process. She was a management major. And so her theme was all about management and leadership. And she decided in here, she had several different sections all the way through it. And I had to do this based on memory. So forgive me if it doesn't sound like it's as expansive as it could be. Um, she put in her coursework, some Excel projects she did, a paper she had written on some research, a presentation that she had done, just all of what she learned in her management courses in a summary in one section. Another one was about career, and she had done a management training program with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, by the way, has an excellent management training program, excellent. And they're also the largest employer of traditional undergraduates coming out of any college in the country. Across the country, they're the #1 employer for undergraduate students. So they have a great training program, and she did it for about 2.5 years. So she put in there her job descriptions, what she achieved, because like most businesses, you've got KPIs and you've got ways of measuring how you're getting your work done. She put in some of those charts and graphs. She put in a performance appraisal from her supervisor, and she had won an award for the top intern in Worcester County in Massachusetts. So she put that in the certificate that she had. And then under leadership, she was captain of the women's soccer team. So she wrote about that. She put in a picture of she and her team, and she talked a little bit about what that experience is like, what she learned. She was on the Student Athletic Council for 4 years, and she was an RA for a year. And then another category she put in, and I always recommend you to put in something that's really personal about you. And she chose to put in international travel. She had traveled with her family and gone to several countries. So she put in pictures about that. And she just talked about the first time that she had left this country and what that was like for her and that experience that she had and how that she thinks will help her be a better leader and a better manager when she gets that job. She won in her senior year the best portfolio contest. I used to have we had about 14 or 15 sections in the senior course, and I asked all of them to give me anywhere from 3 to 5 of the best out of their sections, piled them all up in my office. I invited every year 3 to 5 corporate recruiters to come to campus, and they would just spend the morning for 3 hours. I would have them go through these like 50, 60 portfolios and rate them. Which they loved because they would find a portfolio and they go, oh my God, I want to meet this student. I'm like, great, if there's their email, feel free to reach out. So they were loving it. And then they always chose a first, second, third, and we gave out gift cards. And of course, we promoted it, the best portfolios on campus. So this one won because the recruiters told me that this student was really focused on management leadership, and everything that was in there related to that theme. And it looked consistent, it looked organized, and so they loved that. So I'm hoping that you've got some questions in a minute. I'll go through the slides, and I'm really looking forward to your questions. As I talked about with categories, the one on the left here, this is the table of contents for a portfolio. And this is what we had the students actually at Nichols do. It is based on NACE, the National Association of Colleges and Employers. They put out a top 10 list of the top 10 skills recruiters are looking for, companies are looking for. They now do a top 20 list, and it's what recruiters are looking for in a resume. So it's tweaked over the years. But nonetheless, out of their top categories, we thought, okay, well, if these are the skills that employers are looking for and students coming out of school, let's make those the topics in the portfolio. And then the students can just deliver the skills right to the employer of what they're looking for. So we did break up a couple, teamwork, leadership, we put them together. Communication skills, I think they break down to verbal and written. We put it together in one. So this is what we came up with. We asked the students to write an introductory statement, their resume, put in a career section. What are they learning in their classes, their internships, and so forth, and then all of these skills that they were looking for. And again, we required them to do a unique category. What is special about you? And again, recruiters are looking for how you stand out because you're an individual and because you're unique and there's something cool about you. So don't forget to put that into your portfolio. I've seen things like I had a student who played guitar and wrote music. So he put a sheet of music in that he'd written. He recorded some songs on a CD. He put the CD into a plastic sleeve into the portfolio. And then he talked about how he loves music and how he's passionate about writing music. I've had someone who knows Greek. So she took some English, she translated it into Greek. She talked about how valuable this has been for her and the value it's going to bring to a company, that she knows how to speak Greek and knows Greek really well. So whatever those skills are that you have, make sure you get them in there. They make you unique, okay? And as I said, international travel, hobbies that you have, volunteer work that you do, whatever that may be, don't forget about that. What's on the right is a very eclectic theme portfolio, and this happens to be mine. It's just a collection of things over my career. This is now a few years old. I do need to update it. But it's just the kinds of things that I've worked on in my career, from teaching, leading career development programs, conference presentations, events that I have created, and a curriculum I've created, and so forth. And so for me, it's organized because it's kind of my career, and I know where things are, and I can refer to it as I need them as I use my portfolio. Okay, so what do we want to put into these categories and into this theme in your portfolio? Almost anything could be put in there. First, I want you to think about what skills you have. What are your abilities? What is the knowledge base that you have? Rather than just going to say, I have these 100 things, I don't even know what to start to put in my portfolio. First of all, start to save everything. Save the tests, save the papers, print them out. If you do a PowerPoint presentation, print it out. You can do 2 to a page if you want, or whatever, print it in color, but save your work so you have something to put in your portfolio, okay? So the first thing I suggest, I think it would be easier, is what are your skills? Self-identify who you are and your talents. Do that first, and then ask the question, what artifacts can I put in to represent that talent? Okay? The other way around is like, here's everything I've done, and now I have to try to make sense of it and put it into some skill areas. You can do it that way, and maybe you do it both ways. But if you start off identifying who you are, what your strengths are, and self-assessing yourself, that didn't make sense. Self-assessing who you are, I think it'll be easier. Then you could say, okay, I'm really good at Excel. What do I have that I have done in Excel that I could print out and put a sample of it in my portfolio? And you don't have to do a 20-page anything in your portfolio. Put in the first 2 or 3 pages and say, here's 3 pages of a paper that I wrote that's 25 pages long. The 3 will give somebody a sense of your ability to write. So think about your skills and then go think about how you demonstrate that. Soft skills, you might have to think a little harder. How do I demonstrate empathy? Well, I would talk about, as I said earlier, your volunteer work. Are you reading to children at a school? Are you volunteering at a soup kitchen? Are you spending time talking to people? Are you spending time, even just spending time with colleagues who are having a hard time or that you're training or whatever it may be? How are you demonstrating empathy? Okay. How are you demonstrating listening skills? Okay. So maybe you're doing training. Maybe you want to work at some kind of human service agency where you need training. Well, that training, I'm sure, has got a lot of soft skills in it. So think about that. So think about skills and then what artifacts that you could do for that. So here's just a sample of the things that you could be putting into your portfolio. So you go like, I have nothing to put in here. You have all kinds of things. Think about your transcripts, particularly if you have really good grades. Get a copy of your transcripts and put it in there. Even if it's unofficial, that's fine. You can show them. So papers you've written, PowerPoints, graphs, skills, travel, hobbies, projects, honors projects, anything that you have done at work, at volunteer, anything. If you have done it, it doesn't matter if somebody paid you to do it or not. You have a skill, you've accomplished it. Think about it and try to get it in here. Okay, so this is just a sample list. Don't feel like you have to put all of this in. You don't. Pick and choose what works for you and how, again, you're going to demonstrate who you are and the skills that you have. Okay. So how do you put a portfolio together? Again, I recommend a 3-ring binder. I went and got these prices off of a Staples website. These are the pink pieces that you need. Up in the top right corner is a 3-ring binder. 1 inch is probably great to get started. 1.5 maybe, but I wouldn't go get a 3-inch one because if you don't fill it, it's going to look pretty empty. A 1/2 inch might not be enough. You're going to want to get plastic sheet protectors. Okay, that's going to it's going to cover your work, and I'm going to show you what I mean. I'll get one out of my portfolio here and show you. You don't want to just punch holes into your work. Okay, you're going to want to get these plastic sheet covers, which you can just buy in box. You're also going to want to get tabs. I get the kind of tabs that I can just peel off the back and stick on because if I have 6 categories, I'm going to want those 6 to be equally measured out. Okay. And so the plastic is really going to be important to protect your work. Okay. The other thing you want to think about is stationery. And this is what I have over on the left. If you get something with a border, then you can print on this. So this is one section of my portfolio, professional development. This is the program that I created at Nichols. And I have a whole section on this, but every category section uses this kind of paper. And I put it in the plastic sheet protector. And then I use the same size font and the same type of font and type up every one of these, all of my different sections in my portfolio. Also the cover, same paper. Now here's some other stationery that I have. It's got a smaller border. Okay. You don't want anything that's got wild and crazy. There's all kinds of borders out there, but I would stick to something pretty conservative, particularly if you're going into a conservative field. Okay. So you want the notebook, you want the sheet protectors. You're going to want those tabs. I like the kind that don't come pre on it already, but I can put them on depending on how many sections I have. And then the stationery that you want to use for your title pages and for your cover. Okay, I feel like there are a lot of questions. Should we stop for questions, David, or should I keep going?
I actually, it's up to you, but I just have a quick question. Somebody asked
Yeah.
this before. I think it's very relevant. I realize that the answer can vacillate between a lot and a few, depending on how long you've had a career for. But somebody asked, um, how many pages would you recommend their portfolio be? And I said, really, it's up to you, depending on what your experience and level and
Mhm,
what you think is appropriate to go in there. Does
mhm.
that sound about right?
It absolutely sounds right. I think probably anywhere from 3 to 6 or 7 sections, at least one or two things in every section. And and as you grow, for instance, when we did this at Nichols College, sophomores had to do those sections that I showed you. They had to put 2 items in it. By junior year, they had to put 3 items in every section. And by senior, they had to do 4. Now, not only was it 4, but then I would say those 4 should be really more sophisticated. Take out your sophomore stuff now and put in 4 things from your junior and senior year because you're getting more sophisticated as you go. You're learning more in your career. So it's really up to you. You might have 3 sections and 2 things in each. You might have 7 sections and 4 things in each. It really, and you might not even have 4 in every single section. Maybe one's got 2 sections, 2 in one section and 3 in another and 5 in another. It's really more important about what's going to demonstrate your skills to an employer. Okay. And if you don't feel like you've got a lot to put in there, that's okay. Just get started. And you may not want to use it till you feel like you've got more content, and that's okay too. But if you start building it now, every time you create something really cool, you're going to say, oh, let me go stick that in my portfolio. So I've got it in a place where I can keep it. Um, and it's going to be a lifesaver. And I have done that. I bought a notebook that even had a pocket in the front, and I just keep putting stuff in there as I go. And Holly, I just saw your comment. You're absolutely right. It is quality over quantity. Don't feel like you have to fill a great big notebook. You don't. And it might be too much to bring to an interview. So, okay. Anything else, David, are we good or
I'm looking real quick, trying to see if we missed anything.
okay.
Carly, did
How
you
do you
see
know
anything in the
what's
chat
yeah,
I
there's one
missed?
that just came by from
Okay.
Angelica, maybe. It just said, how do you know what's important? That's a self-assessment. What's important to you? Before you go to any job interview, you have to read that job description carefully. That is key to what you're doing. That is key to what your cover letter is going to say. It's key to how you want to arrange your resume for that position because you don't need just one resume for everything. You really should be tweaking it for every job you apply to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be key to how you set up your portfolio. So you may even have a big portfolio where you've collected things over the years and it's like 3 inches big now. But you're going to a job for, I'm an accountant, I'm going to a very specific staff accounting position. I don't maybe necessarily want to bring my marketing materials or my hobby. I just want to bring 6 things that talk about my ability to be a really good staff accountant. Put 6 things in your portfolio and take it with you. Okay. You don't have to bring this big one around all the time with you. And we'll talk about that more as we get into the coming weeks about how to set your portfolio up, and what to put in it and how to change it up. Okay. Yeah, another comment. I think somebody had a hand up. Was it Will? Do you have a comment, Will? There he is. Yeah, go ahead, Will. Are you on mute?
Oh,
I'm not hearing
wait.
you.
Yeah, I got him. Hold on. There we
Oh,
go.
sorry.
I I just allowed his mic. Well, you can come off mute whenever you're ready.
Th-
Okay.
Thank you very much, David.
Yep, you got it.
Dean Sherman, I want to say what I love about this is I really equate this to what I refer to as my "I Love Me" book from the military.
Yes.
That's
That
old
that
school
that that
military. Yep, that's it.
that's where I keep all my NCERs, my awards, decorations.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Um,
Yes.
I keep all my orders for places I've been,
Yes.
accomplishments.
Yes.
All that goes into my "I Love Me" book, and the
Yes.
whole purpose behind it, the whole purpose behind the "I Love Me" book, started for me when I was a specialist. Right, I
Uh-huh.
had an NCO that told me the Army is notorious for losing your stuff. I don't care if they scan it into iPerms. You need to keep a hard copy of it
Uh-huh.
because
Interesting.
when uh, when they scan it in iPerms, right, through S1, which is the equivalent to human resources, Human
Mm-hmm.
resources is notorious for losing things.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you
Mm-hmm.
turn it in with a read receipt or anything,
Mm-hmm.
still need to maintain a copy of that, and
Mm-hmm.
courtesy copy yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and keep that in a
Yep.
record for yourself.
Yep.
Currently, my I Love Me books probably front and back document protector uh, pages with that's about 3.5 inches thick.
Mm-hmm.
I would have
Wow.
a hard time
That's a
condensing that down.
healthy career in the military. Good for you. Good for you. Okay, well, thank you for sharing. You're right. This is comparable to that, right? This is a little bit about you all the way through here and who you are and what you're capable of doing. So that's a great comparison. Thanks, Will, for sharing. All right, I'm going to keep moving here, but please, save your questions and we'll get there. Please make sure your portfolio is organized. Okay, organized to the point where you can find something. You never want to get to an interview and want to show them something, but you can't find it. And you've got 30 pages of stuff and you don't know where it is and you're flipping and you're flipping. And we'll talk about that in 2 weeks as well, about how to use it in the interview. Make sure it's well organized. Make sure everything is typed. Sometimes people like to handwrite the little tabs inside the piece of paper in there for your sections. No, type it on a sheet of paper, cut around it, fold it in half, slide it into the tab. Okay, same size font, all of it throughout your portfolio. So all your tabs should look alike. I also say fold a tab. It sounds really crazy, but if you just cut out the piece of paper that fits the tab, once you pick up your portfolio, all those tabs are going to fall out. So fold that paper in half, make sure that it's double wide and you're going to fold it and then slide it into your tab or it will fall out. And when I used to collect portfolios to grade, I would put them in boxes and I would pick up a portfolio and the little tabs would fall out. I had a pile of tabs at the bottom of my box by the time I was done going through all the portfolios. So you don't want your tabs falling out. You don't want to get there and you've got 2 tabs missing and so forth. This picture right here is showing that they're using the number system and they're, just putting it in as a table of contents in the front. You can do it that way. I prefer the tab where it's typed and so you've got every section typed out, because if you're a recruiter and you get to section 4, you don't want to have to go back to the beginning and say, what was 4 again? I forget. Let me go back and see what the title is and then go back to it. But nonetheless, it's still an organized way to do it. So if this is something you want to set it up this way, you can set it up however you want. There's no right, there's no wrong. It's whatever works for you. Make sure it's polished. Make sure it's organized. Make sure it's neat. And don't forget to add color. And there's a slide about that coming up. It's far more interesting than if everything is just typed black on white paper. Okay. And I think I've got all of that. Please check spelling and grammar, please, on anything you're putting in here. So again, a table of contents. You might want to do an introductory statement, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. If you're going for a specific job and you have the cover letter that you sent into that company already, you can print a copy and put it in there if you want. Make sure if you put a cover letter in there that it's for the company that you're showing your portfolio to and not a different company. You probably would want to put your resume or CV in there, but print it on resume paper. Okay, there is such a thing as resume paper. You can go into Staples, Amazon, type in resume paper. It's thicker, it has a watermark. Make sure when you print it through the printer, the watermark, when you hold it up, the watermark is right side up. Now, watermark means the place on the paper where the paper's thinner, and they usually have their company logo, whoever creates the paper. I had a recruiter say to me one time, I had 2 candidates who were so good, and I couldn't decide which one to hire. And I held both of the resumes up, and one of them had the resume printed correctly with the water mark facing correctly and upright, and the other one had it upside down or backwards. I went with the person with the watermark in the right place. Sounds absolutely ridiculous, but don't give a recruiter a reason to throw your resume away, okay? Follow all the rules, and you can certainly talk to CCBD more about that. You want to put your categories in here, that individual unit category. And if you have a list of references, put it in the back. If you get to an interview and they really like you and say, do you have a list, can you get me your references? Take it out of your portfolio and hand it to them. Better than saying, oh, let me get back to you by tomorrow. I don't have it all with me. You've got it right there. You can hand it right over. Likewise, if you have letters of reference that you want to put in there that you're proud of, put those in there as well. Okay, just some ideas about what can go into that. You might want to do an introductory personal statement. And again, I used to require students to do this. And so when you open the portfolio, the very first thing is something called introductory statement. In that statement, it's a summary, one-page summary of who that person is, their name, their major, their experience, some skills about them, the kind of career they might want, what are their goals. And I say to students, if the recruiter was to look at one thing in your portfolio about you and it was that introductory statement, what do you want them to know? So right there, summarize everything that you've got in this portfolio and your career to date and what you're looking for, where you want to go. And you can do a summary statement. Not required, but it's just a kind of a nice little touch if you want to think about doing it. I'm looking at 2 or 3 paragraphs. That's pretty much it. Descriptions are really important in a paper portfolio. If you put something in here, it ought to have a description. And I always say to students, put the item on the right-hand side. I guess this is your right-hand side. Put it on the right-hand side, and on the left, when you're opening up the portfolio, put a half a page description. Okay, so if they're looking at a spreadsheet, like what is this and why would I pay attention to this? I just put an example in here. This Excel spreadsheet was created in my CIS 110 computer science course in the fall of 2023. I've included it to demonstrate my ability to create a database, manipulate the contents, and derive a summary of the information to be used to assess the activity. Bunch of, I don't know, I just made it up, but that's what that's the point I want to make is that put in something that describes what this is, okay? Also, you can put in here what you learned from this. Okay, why are you putting it in here? Why is this more important than another Excel sheet you could have used? Or why is this research paper more important than another one? From this research paper, I learned to hone my APA skills or my research skills or my ability to write succinctly, whatever it is, okay? Talk about your skills, highlight your skills, and tell them what you have learned from that item and why you're putting it in there. Okay. Don't forget to use color in your portfolio. If everything is black ink and white pages, it's going to be a really, really boring portfolio. Okay. If you do webcasts or webinars or anything, put a picture in here, like this woman's demonstrating something. Top right, what travel have you done around the world? Spreadsheets, graphs, put it in color. It's going to just make your portfolio pop. It's going to catch people's attention. It's going to look far more interesting and creative. And trust me, I have read portfolios that are just black and white, and you get to the end and you go, ho hum, good information, but nothing really caught my attention. So make sure you use color. Now, I had a student say to me one time, but I don't know how to scrapbook. So how would I ever put a portfolio together? This is not scrapbooking. Please use your computer, print things out that look nice and neat. But do use color, okay? It's really important to capture people's attention. Okay, couple of tips here. First, identify your skills and accomplishments, and then second, get that best artifact that demonstrates it. My suggestion, you can do it however you like. Please overemphasize your soft and human skills. And this just follows exactly what Dean Dressel was just saying. Soft skills matter, okay? They matter. So make sure you put that in there throughout your portfolio. Never include anything sensitive from a former or current employer. Okay, so if you work in finance, don't take your company's budget and go put it in the portfolio and go interview with a competitor. Okay, you'll probably get fired quicker than you can get that new job, but it's just not ethical. The new company might say, why is that information? Why are they showing me that? They shouldn't be showing me that. Think about what you're putting in there. Is it ethical? And then always, if you're not sure, ask your company, your employer. I'm building a portfolio of all my best skills. Do you think this would be appropriate? What I've said to students is it's not so much what the numbers are in an Excel spreadsheet, for instance, it's how you use them, how you created the spreadsheet. So make up fake numbers. It doesn't really matter. You want to be able to show your ability to use Excel rather than that you can put 5 digits in a box, right? So make up some numbers, put it in there, but show them the skills of how you thought about the process. What's the cognitive process that you went through to create that whole spreadsheet or whatever it is, okay? But don't give away sensitive information. And be organized, and you have to know where the items are, okay? You don't want to say to an employer, yes, I have something I'd like to show you, and then you're flipping, okay? Make sure you know where they are. I usually tell students that after every tab, put the most important article for that section, or the one that you really want to show the company. Put it right after your tab. So you go to that tab, it's going to be right there. You don't have to go through 2 or 3 more items to get to it. Okay. So you're going to have to assess, based on that job description or that position announcement, what are the skills they're likely to look for. Okay. And that's what you want to put right after that in that tab. And we'll talk more about, that's a combination portfolio. We'll talk more about that in coming weeks. Okay. Couple of quotes for you. I use the portfolio in my head. I had a student one time who was a criminal justice major. She was president of the senior class, and I was a class advisor, so I worked really closely with her. And she was going down to Washington, D.C. to do an interview with, I forgot, National Security Agency, one of them. And she was really nervous about it. So she got her portfolio ready, and I took a look at it, gave her some suggestions. She was ready. She went down there for like 3 or 4 days. She came back so excited. She came out after. She goes, I got a job. They offered me a job on the spot. I'm so excited. And we got talking, and she goes, but you're going to be disappointed. And I said, why? She said, because I never used my portfolio. I had it with me, but I never used it. And I said, that's okay. And she said to me, but I used the portfolio in my head. She said, I knew my portfolio so well. I knew what items I put in there. I knew why I put them in. I knew the skill sets that they represented. So every question that they asked me, I could think back to my portfolio and say, what example do I have that I can talk to them about? So I'll never forget that when she said, I used the portfolio in my head, because she had memorized her portfolio to that extent. Okay, so this comes to my second quote, which is something I have said to students for years. The process of creating a portfolio is more important than the product. So the process that she went through to create her portfolio helped her tremendously and was more important than the actual product. Okay, so the process is more important than the product. So just keep that in mind. Okay, that's the end of my presentation. I just want to say next week, we're going to talk about how to personalize your portfolio. If you can make it, I'd love to have you there. How do you make it yours? How do you stand out among the crowd? We're going to have a couple of guest speakers, and I'll show my portfolio as well. We'll be talking about all of that. And then the week after, it's how do you get your portfolio ready for that interview? How do you carry it? How do you describe what it is? What do you say when they ask you a question? And there's a AAA method that I devised, and it's you answer the question. You don't just pull out your portfolio and go, here you go. You look at the interview in the eye, you answer the question, you ask if you can show your portfolio, and then you articulate what it is that you want to show them. And we'll go through all of that in 2 weeks. You may also want to create a little portfolio with the 3, 5, 10 most important things that relate to that job and leave it behind at the interview. Or if it's a virtual interview, send it to them in the mail, put it as documents and put it together in a folder and send it off to them. So maybe they have time to look at it. Okay. So think about that as well. And I came to the end. So questions, thoughts, I'd love to hear what you have to say. I'm going to stop sharing while we get so I can see all of you. Okay, here we are, back again. I did a lot of talking and I threw a lot of information at you, but so thank you for hanging in. I would love to entertain any questions that you might have, any thoughts.
Don, while you're waiting for questions, I'm just going to very quickly put in the chat for one last time our survey for today's event, and also we'll finish up with the one last time the Eagles Cup sign in for everyone. Just put your name and email in there, and that will prompt us, and we'll add you to the attendance for your school, and hopefully you get your school wins a prize at the end of the semester. Yeah, and if you sign up for the survey, that'll give us some great information as we continue to improve these workshops, particularly the career workshops today. So thank you all. Go ahead. Didn't mean to cut you off, Dawn.
And David, well, before we get to the questions, David, would you kindly somehow find a way to pull 5 names out of this group of 65 people?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I would like to send 5 people all those materials that you need to put your portfolio together. Okay, so I will look up your addresses.
Sure. Can I have it for you after tonight's event? Like I'll send to you tomorrow morning the 5 names.
Yes, Absolutely.
Great.
However you
Perfect.
want to do it, pick a
Yep.
number and do it off the list. Yes, if
You
you can
got
come
it.
up with 5 names, and I will send 5 of you all of the supplies that you need to create your portfolio.
Awesome.
And let's see, William.
Dean Sherman, David, thank you guys for hosting such a great event. This
You got
this
it.
has been tremendous, back to back to back, great knowledge going on from
Good,
beginning to end.
good,
Um,
perfect.
First, I want to say I'm really excited to see how this portfolio project turns out. And secondly, um, do you see posts implementing a portfolio project in the future, similar to what you've talked about in the past,
Mhm.
in universities past?
Yeah, I can't say for sure. I think at some point we may require a portfolio, or we may require it in some courses or some degree programs. It's probably more likely going to be the electronic version, which is still valuable because you're deciding, again, those skills and what you're going to put online as opposed to in a notebook. So I do think at some point, it probably down the road, a year or two from now. I'm hoping we do, because I've seen huge success with the students when we required it when I was at Nichols College. Every student, as I said, had to get it graded all 3 years as well, too. Now, we were a traditional undergrad population, so a little different. Nonetheless, the value for the students. And I even had one time the senior class president came up to me. I'll never forget it. It was spring weekend. We were just leaving an event, and it was late at night. And he said to me, I have to apologize to you. And I said, for what? He goes, for 3 years, I've been bad mouthing this professional development program, and particularly the portfolios. I've been telling everybody it's ridiculous, it's a waste of our time. He goes, until I started interviewing now at the end of my senior year, and I'm using my portfolio, and I'm understanding all the valuable skills that I've learned, interviewing skills and so forth in these courses. And he said, it is an incredible program, and I'm getting great feedback from the recruiters that I'm talking to. And he goes, and for 3 years, as a leader on campus, I probably convinced a lot of people that it's a bad program and all of this is difficult and you shouldn't be doing it. But he goes, now I see the value. So I apologize for my bad mouthing all of this for several years, particularly as the SGA president in his senior year. So I think sometimes people don't understand the value of it until they actually have to go use it. But I tell you, it will be important, and it will be valuable.
Well, I appreciate that, Dean.
Mhm.
Because I'm thinking back to when I did the college to career
Mhm.
class.
Yep.
We did do kind of an electronic one with our LinkedIn accounts.
Mhm.
We did build out a resume. We did do cover letters. Um, like there was a lot of valuable career readiness
Mhm. Yes.
information in that class, and I'm
Yes,
super thankful
absolutely.
for that.
Yeah.
But I could see this being a culminating event along
Mhm.
with that.
Mhm.
And I mean, almost at
Mhm.
each level throughout the course, there's already some type of career readiness course built into the
Mhm.
programs. It
Mhm.
probably wouldn't be a difficult task to implement it. I would be excited to see this come to post.
Yeah, I think our workforce ready initiative that Dave's a part of and Holly's on here, I'm not sure who else, is it going to do exactly that. We are taking a look at how is workforce readiness embedded across the university. And that's what today was all about, is teaching students that all these different departments are here supporting your readiness to get ready for whatever's next. It's a promotion, it's a new job, it's a career change. We will be embedding career information in courses and in degree programs. We will be doing more things around speakers. We will be creating a large workforce ready center that our president wants badly. So, which would be virtual as well as physical. So there are a lot of things coming, and what Post is aiming to do is to really be in the forefront nationally on career development. And how do we make this happen? So yeah, I like that little fist pump. Um, that's our goal, and that's a committee that I chaired for 3 years, and Holly is now chairing along with Maria, and David's part of an active part of it. That's where we want to go, and I think it's going to benefit our students tremendously. It's going to benefit everyone. It's going to benefit employers. They're going to start to be able to hire people with the skills they're looking for, right? Because we'll be teaching all of that. It'll help all of you get those skills so you can be ready for what's coming. And it will help the university as we go out and start saying, come to Post. included in your tuition will be all this career development readiness that we're going to be have available for you. So it's just a win-win-win, and that is the direction that we're moving in. Now, that being said, this portfolio, you all can go create this right now. I mean, go get the supplies. Go, you can sit and do this. I'm here to help you if you have any questions or you want any more information about it. The next 2 weeks as well, we'll give you some more information about really kind of honing all of this. But you can go create one today, tomorrow, next week. It's not complicated. How you use it in the interview has some things that we'll talk about in a couple of weeks, but creating a portfolio is not that complicated. It's just, like, as I said, identify your skills and how do you use an artifact to describe that or to send that message. So there's no real big science to it, just a little bit of effort. So thanks, Will. Any more questions, Will, before we move on to Crystal? You're good. Okay, great. Thanks, Crystal.
Yes, hi, hello. I'm actually one of the academic advisors for first year. I'm so happy to be here, and there's a lot of great questions coming in. I saw some questions here in the chat, and I figured it would be good to ask. So one question was, should the portfolio be in color? Like, is there a difference between like a black and white kind of portfolio versus a color portfolio? And also, should they include a photo of themselves in the portfolio? I think those are very, very great questions. So I wanted to
they are. Thank you. I
that.
so appreciate it. Thank you for
Sure.
digging those out of the chat. The binder that you buy can be black, white, blue, red, orange, whatever you want. You can buy binders in all colors. Think about the field you're going into. If you're doing graphic design, you might want it to be an orange or in yellow. If you're going into banking, you might want to stick to a white or a black or something more conservative. So the colors that you use and how you present it is really going to be dependent on the kind of field that you want to go into. Okay, so I would think about that as you're going through. I would add some color, even if you get a black binder. Mine happens to be black, white. It's fine. Just add color inside in ways that you can. Okay, put pictures. Put in a brochure from an event that you went to or a training that you went to. If you go to a seminar, you can put stuff in there and then describe, here's the brochure from the seminar I went to, and this is what I learned. That's all really important. Okay. And then a picture of yourself. I think if you're at an event and there's a picture of you because you're at a booth and you're showing something or selling something, that's probably fine. I would avoid putting your picture on a resume. A lot of companies have a policy that if a picture comes in a resume, they have to throw the resume away. They can't look at it because they can't be determining who they're interviewing based on someone's gender, race, age, any of it. So that they, in most companies, will say, do not put your picture on a resume. So again, I probably wouldn't put my picture on the front of the portfolio, but if it was embedded in something I was doing, showing activity, that would probably be okay. So just be careful with that. Thank you. Great questions, Crystal. Thanks for picking that up. I'm trying to see who's next. I don't have my glasses on. I guess my glasses would help. My apologies here. Comfort Poorman, I see. Thank you. Oops, I think you're on mute.
Comfort, give it a try now. See if you can come off mute now.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
yep, we're good.
Yes, gotcha.
Okay, good. It's been crazy. So I was just wondering if I could show you mine. I started mine in my freshman year.
Yep.
I did punch holes in it though, so I have to fix that. Definitely I have to fix that with the little, sleeves. But I use this one. I chose this one. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh yeah, look at
this
that.
light, it might be in the way.
Yep. Yeah, I can
it's
see
kind of
like
a
design.
tree.
Oh, it's a tree. It's a tree.
Yeah,
Yes,
so I
see
figured,
that.
it's a tree. Like I started here and I branch out like that.
All right.
So I thought that was
Excellent.
pretty cool. I got it from Amazon. I just figured I'd share.
Well, thank you. Thank you for doing that. And here's the key. The portfolio is you. Okay. You get to do what you want with it because I did it one way or David did it one or Holly did it one. This is you. How do you want to best be represented? Okay. So I would probably not put cartoon characters in there or anime or, be professional. But if that tree represents you, Comfort, about how you've grown and what you've learned, or particularly being a student or through your profession, then absolutely go for it.
Yeah, I think like,
Absolutely.
you start as a seed and you kind of just blossom out.
Yes. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Great. Any other questions? Well, I hope that many of you can join us next week. As I said, we'll have guest speakers. There'll be 3 of us talking about our portfolios, what we put in them, why we've done, how we've used them. And both Mike and Caitlin, who are will be talking about why they created their portfolios, and they both use them for their current jobs at Post as they were interviewing. So Mike was going from being a program chair to assistant dean, so he created a portfolio. And then Caitlin was going from being assistant director of honors program to the director role. And so she put that together of the things that she had done in her assistant director role to demonstrate that she was ready for the director role. And both of them did get their positions. So they'll talk about that. And then again, in 2 weeks, as I said, we'll talk about how to then use this portfolio once you put it together. So any other questions? I know it's late. Thank you for hanging in there. And I appreciate the great questions and hope to see many of you next week. David, will it be the same link or are we going to do a different link for next week?
We're going to do the same link next week, Dean Sherman. And yeah, we'll be ready to roll too. That's going to start same time, but only since we're only running yours that week, it'll be 7 o'clock instead of our 3:45 start today. So
yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
And there's one more question. I think Monica just had her hand up before we go. Monica? No, I thought her hand went up, so I wanted to make sure. All right, I'm looking forward to going back to the chat box I always do at the end of a presentation to go back and read what you all had to say and the questions and all the things that you put in there. So thank you. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to talk to you about career development. Again, it's my passion. I just love helping people with their careers and helping to move forward. So thank you for the opportunity to work with you tonight, and hope to see you again next week. Thank you.
Dave?
Forgetting how to come off mute now. Thank you, everyone. You guys have a wonderful evening.
Dave,
Thank you. I
yes.
hope you all enjoyed it. One
I
last
just-
time. Well, go ahead, Holly.
Sorry, I just wanted to say a quick thank you and
Yeah.
to everyone for joining in tonight, and what a pleasure it was.